Welcome in yet again to another live edition of The Meltdown. The first poster for Joker 2 has dropped. Is the X-Files reboot something worth buying up all of the stock for? I think I saw one of the best horror movies of the year yesterday, and Luntz's list profiles the 5 wrestlers, other than his favorite in Kane, that hold a special place in John's heart. It's all straight ahead right here on The Meltdown. Presented by MyBookie, broadcasting live from the Culver studio.
2 big balls in a tiny studio, teaching you and me about everything they know that makes sound. A meltdown, it's the meltdown, time for the meltdown, coming for the meltdown, let's start the show.
Thank you to all of you lovely Meltdonians for making this channel a reality. It is you that makes the magic happen each and every day. And we appreciate your support of the channel, whether you're a subscriber or whether you are going to join as a subscriber. We are on the road to 2,000 subscribers and would love to have you on board for this journey as we continue to build a world of escapism for your viewing pleasure. Movies, television, video games, music, pop culture, a little bit of wrestling as well, sports. We're going to talk about it all right here on this channel. Thank you for being a part of it. I am Tim Melton. The other half of this experiment, that is my good friend, Mr. John Lunsford, who had, yes, yet another deep run in the poker tournament that he hosts every single week at the Primetime Poker Club last night. John, so close to finishing first.
Only reason I didn't finish first is because the representative from your table got fed chips by people like you.
Can't help it. He was on a roll and he could not be beat. But one thing I did notice was that one of our poker players by the name of Russell showed up after attending a lovely dinner at Culver's, and he had a wonderful time there. I don't think he'd ever had Culver's before. He had Culver's based on our recommendation, and he loved it. He gets his butter burger without the onions and tomato, even though I recommend both, especially those red onions. They're really good. But he's not an onion guy, and he said it was good. So I'm very happy with Russell's review of Culver's, and I'm very happy with your performance at the Primetime Poker Club. Congratulations.
I try. Neither one of us are going to win a championship this year, but you know what? It's okay.
I am the 2-time defending champion, and I was going for a 3-peat, and it's just not going to happen this year, unfortunately. But we will rebuild, and we will get back stronger than ever going into Season 12 next season.
Season 12. That's right.
And a lot of seasons of this poker league that you run.
Rocky's heard a lot about this poker league every single day. Who won? Every day I walk
Tuesday's
in,
my favorite day.
he sarcastically asked me every Tuesday morning, who won? I was like, you don't care who won. But here's exactly what happened.
Well, no, then the gathering of people like, well, I can't believe I folded at 926. When I was like, oh, well, you had the ace pockets and you had a quercetinum.
King 9.
Yeah.
Can you eventually work in the word steamboat into your poker
On the river,
terminology?
if it's on the river, I will do a steamboat.
Thank you. Producer Tyler is here. Tyler, I went to go see Immaculate yesterday, and let me tell you this, I really, really liked it. I thought it was actually really well done. I think everyone kind of undersold how much quality this film is. I think it's really good. It's really effective. Sydney Sweeney, I think, is fantastic in it. It takes twists and turns that I was on board with. It definitely goes places. And if you are a horror movie fan, I think Immaculate delivers. I don't know what else you want from a creepy nun movie.
I mean, sure. But yeah, I agree with you. I thought it was a solid movie, and it's got a little bit of something for every kind of horror fan. It's a little hodgepodge of different styles.
I don't want you to feel like you're being attacked or anything by not being as enthusiastic about it as I am, but I was just like, man, I can't imagine this movie in the world in which it's set being done any better than the way it was done. I was really, really happy with it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. That's how happy I was with it. I gave Late Night with the Devil a 4 out of 5. So 2 horror movies that released wider than they were on the same day, and I got a chance to see both eventually, and I really appreciate both for different reasons and recommend both. I'm going to see The First Omen later this week, and I just don't know how many more creepy nun movies I can take, but I'm going to try to ingest them all.
The worst was the previews for somebody who never wants to see a creepy nun movie ever in his life. Every single movie, the first 2 trailers you saw were The First Omen and Immaculate, back to back every single time for 2 months.
How many creepy nun movies have you seen?
I have seen
Nuns on the Run with Eric Idle. Sister Act, Back in Business. I never saw the first one.
This question was for Lunsford.
Oh, okay, I'm
The,
sorry.
the Sister Act count. Yeah. Surely I've seen something
Setting
somewhere.
you up for a joke. You're supposed to say none. That was supposed to be
I was
the
going to ask
joke.
if you were going to make your
Not
joke
any.
today. But
That was supposed to be the joke. None.
Oh, because the horror film Nun, the one
No.
that was part of the.
No, never mind. Let's move on. Everyone, guys, you got to learn how to play ball around here. That's what's got to happen. Okay, we need everybody to shape up. Can we restart the show? Can we do that? Let's re-record here.
Two big boys in a tiny studio.
Balls in a
the rest of
tiny
it.
studio, teaching you and me.
Okay, Rockstar's here with us.
Hey, guys.
Rockstar,
How are you?
I assign you tasks sometimes of things to watch before the show. Did you accomplish the homework you had before today's show?
I did.
Do you remember what the assignment was?
It was to watch Billy Joel's new music video for Turn the Light Back On?
Turn the lights back on.
Turn
Yes.
the lights back on.
And this is a music video that came out roughly a month ago, 3
Right.
weeks ago, something like that. I don't know. But it is a music video that goes full Star Wars Rogue One. It goes full.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm just wondering how a Billy Joel video went Rogue One.
It does. It goes.
I know what you're saying.
It takes Billy Joel and it shows you a younger version of Billy Joel.
What it does
I
is
understand
And then
now.
it shows you a little bit of an older, younger version of Billy Joel. And then it shows you a little bit of an older version of younger Billy
a
Joel.
lot of de-aging.
And
It's-
it's
it's
a
a-
lot of de-aging technology.
it's a cool idea. We're not there yet. Because it starts with him at his age, which crazily he looks like Peter Gabriel now. They look like identical twins, but him alone at a piano, and then it camera fades down to the piano, goes back up to him, and it's him from the 70s with his full head of hair, and he has dead eyes. It's AI, and his mouth's not perfect, and it goes like another. It's just obvious. I mean, I know it's a cool idea of like, oh, it's his younger self reflecting, and then it goes to the 80s Billy Joel, but it's just like dead eyes, and the mouth's not just right yet. It's just not there.
I agree with you. And John, that was one of your big arguments against Rogue One. It took you out of the film when that type of de-aging has not yet met the fooling the human eye level of consistency it needs to. And then it's implemented in films where it's important that that is right in order for it to not feel silly.
So, all right. So who was it Tarkin was the first one they did.
Correct.
Then Leia.
It didn't take me out quite as much because it was much darker. Because when you're on, the starships or the bad guys, dark or whatever, it didn't quite take me out. Now watching it now at home, really looking at it, it's like, yeah, it kind of takes me out. But Leia is what totally took me out, because what was the best part of the movie, the end, when you see Vader coming in and you kind of relive the beginning of A New Hope, and you get to then Leia at the end, and it's bright because she's wearing all white and it's brighter lit because that's more of the good side, and she turns around, it's like, no, why did you do that? You could have left it exactly the same, kept her turned around, had her say her line, and stop, and instead it's like you just had to go too far with
Imagine it's Rogue One and Billy Joel comes running in with his piano, and that's the way this music video feels to me. And I have to ask you, Rockstar, about where you are with the use of artificial intelligence, de-aging, digital recreation for creative purposes, because you are an artist yourself, and I wonder if that is something that you're very passionate about, or something where you're like, it's inevitable, it's going to happen, there's a tsunami of it coming anyway, and it's too late to stop it.
It is inevitable, I think. I don't know. It's just we haven't got. I know the Beatles song that came out earlier this year or last year. It was number one because they did digital remastering of John Lennon's voice to put all their parts together for an unfinished song, and it was number one for a while, was it not? And it's an okay song, but that's the new thing is, of course, we got to get something with a hologram with Tupac and all that stuff. But it's a cool idea. We're just not there. I think we're gonna be laughing about this. The Leia thing was a dead giveaway with me. Well, not the dead eyes, but the teeth. We can't master teeth yet because I was like, oh my God, her teeth, it looks like a video game. It looks like something from...
Talking is always what does it for me in a video game. But then when you put it in a real life movie, it's like, it just looks like the video game. I'm okay with it in a video game. I'm not okay with it in a real life movie.
But this is the future. I'm not a big Billy Joel fan, but at least he's embracing it to an extent because he's made his money. He's like, fine, I'll do this. And who still makes music videos? That's what's crazy.
Is there any artist that you would pay to see that was a digital recreation of that artist?
No.
Like you wouldn't go down to Legacy Arena and
think-
watch a digital recreation of
Michael Jackson.
No.
anybody.
No.
Prince.
No.
Nobody.
No. Because that's not the real thing. I think I'm at the age where it's like we're at our age, like we're almost like the cutoff point. I think maybe Tyler's age would be more into it to see like Jimi Hendrix tonight at the BJCC, reanimation of him. But like I don't. I may be wrong, but I think our age is at the cutting point. We're like, no, not really. Would you?
Is it because it's just not entertaining, or because you're like morally against the idea?
No, I just think it's to the point where it's just not. You can't embrace it yet. I feel like I'm not going to be there. You're still looking at like, you're going to be walking out. That was fake.
You can't trick yourself.
I can't. That's totally. I know that wasn't him. That wasn't Leia. That was obviously a remake.
To me, it'd be the entertaining factor. It wouldn't be entertaining to me.
I believe. Do we have is that a digital recreation at the window right now? What? Who is? Oh my gosh! Look at that.
God.
That is a
that Laurel?
python.
Let me see who that is.
We have a loose python.
Thank you.
Look at the door, and it's not Laurel. I can confirm it's not Laurel. Oh my gosh! Get in here. Here we go. Look at this.
Hey, yo.
Oh, there it is. We have a special guest in studio today.
That's a special guest.
That is the one and only Brian Pavlik,
Special, all right.
friend of the show here,
Friend.
wrestling aficionado,
Yeah, somewhat.
Disney aficionado.
Among other
You
things.
carry a lot of titles here.
I do. I carry some titles. I don't have a title with me, which is sad. But, maybe one day I can have a title like maybe a Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Did I hear something about a steamboat earlier?
Wow.
See,
There
I
you
watched the
go.
show. On the river. That's
Yeah.
true. But
Brian, if you're looking for a job, we're looking to digitally recreate Rockstar and just have him. We're going to feed him lines, the lines I want him to say. That's what we're going to have happen.
well,
I would love to hear some of the lines you want me to say.
yeah.
We are having a little bit of a discussion here, and it's not about Steamboat Willie. It is about, it's another, we're just going to keep doing this the whole show.
Yeah.
It's about digital recreations of entertainment properties that maybe you have an affinity for and love. Would you pay money to go to a concert or a performance or even a movie where the main actor, main star, main singer, main performer, you knew it was AI generated, but it was good enough to where maybe it was a little bit like, wow, I can actually be fooled by this.
gotcha.
Would you pay money to see that as a consumer, or are you morally against it?
I don't, it's coming if it's not already here. I assume one of the Super Bowls in 5-10 years is going to be all AI generated, and heck, we'll probably have Prince Part 2 Super Bowl or something like that. I would, in a sense, if I could go back to the original environments as well. That it probably just says get a time traveling machine, a DeLorean, if you will, because again, we watch the show around here.
John is against DeLoreans.
I understand. But no, I don't know if I'd ever pay money to say, oh, this is what somebody once was. I think some
Like
things.
if I
you
could
need to
insert
leave.
you into 1969 and be at Woodstock, would that really it's gonna be digitally recreated at Woodstock? You're there. Like, does that have any appeal to you?
Like in the
Yes.
sphere, like in the
Yeah.
Vegas sphere, it's
Yeah.
going to feel like
And
Woodstock.
And it wouldn't even be Hendrix.
No.
I think it'd be the
You
Who.
wouldn't be able to hear him.
No, I think it'd be the Who, especially like a show like that. I think, heck, knowing culture at that time, Richie Havens would be fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see that. But for the sake of here's Jerry Garcia again, sorry.
Okay. Well, we'll monitor this because it's coming, whether we like it or not, and we'll see what the demand of consumers is going to be for this. But I have a feeling, knowing what I know, that there's going to be a lot of demand for the old stuff compared to the new stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of demand for, okay, I can go down and see a Michael Jackson, a Prince, the Beatles all together again, that sort of thing. I can see it happening. Let's go to this. A sequel to a billion-dollar Oscar-winning movie.
Dune.
It's Joker 2.
Oh,
It is my most anticipated movie of the year. It comes out in October, early October. We got the first poster released today for Joker 2. Let's see it, John. There it is in all of its glory.
That's Joker, all right.
I'm underwhelmed by the poster.
I'm very underwhelmed by the poster. And I'll be honest, poster looks a little AI to me.
Oh.
oh no.
I don't disagree with the look of it. Now, I'm not accusing them of
I'm not
having
accusing
generated
them. It just kind of has that
through
look.
AI.
At least it may very well be Joaquin Phoenix holding Lady Gaga. However, the way the paint is on their face, even though that's very much how his face looked in the first movie, the hair, the background they have is just a little artificial, edited. Even if it's not AI, if it was done by a person, but just in general, it looks a little.
It looks like one of those filters that people use for their Instagram
It does.
profile pics now.
does.
It's
It
got
looks-
that same paintbrush look to it.
It looks fan made. if I'm being honest.
It really does. And look, I love the original Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. It is one of my favorite movies ever made. The hype I had going into that, John, not sure I can replicate it for hardly anything else, but I was obsessed with following every development with the original Joker movie, and it overperformed in every possible category it could, both critically and commercially, which is why you're seeing the sequel that was never meant to happen. This was never supposed to be greenlit. And not only is it happening, but it is a movie musical. Now, Brian, I know you are a fan of the stage and the screen. Do you think a musical set in the world of Gotham following around Joaquin Phoenix's Joker and Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn is going to work with most audience members, most movie-going consumers?
Did not work for Sweeney Todd and Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter. I don't see this happening with Joaquin and Gaga. Lady Gaga, obviously, wonderful musical artist. Joaquin played Johnny Cash. So there is some musical talent there. We have seen this on film before. But I don't think people are ready for Joker the Musical, as it should be called. But that's marketing, is it not? If it was Joker the Musical, nobody would go. It's just Joker 2.
I don't think this poster gets anyone more excited for the movie other than to tell people, hey, this is something that's coming out.
Yes.
John, your reaction to the poster after you saw it obviously is around the same vein as what I'm going with, but the thought of this being a jukebox musical, songs people are aware of, being implemented into the Joker universe, is that something that's going to work with traditional audiences?
No, I love Lady Gaga. I mean, she's one of my top artists out there. I've seen her in concert. It's really, really good. But just doesn't quite fit with the Joker that we know from what we got from the first Joaquin Phoenix Joker. It just doesn't gel. Because when I see her on screen, I'm thinking A Star is Born. Because that's really the biggest, from a movie standpoint, the biggest thing we have of her on screen. So it's like, okay, let's merge Joker and A Star is Born. Doesn't really work. I mean, you know, Bradley Cooper is behind this as well. I assume he's a producer on this one like he was on the first one, but because of his Todd Phillips connection. But just something about this makes me think, is this going to be, so Mean Girls this year, okay, redone as a musical. Now it's off the Broadway musical, but still did not need to be a musical, and they did not pitch it as a musical at all. There's an Olivia Rodrigo song they use in every single trailer that then it comes in, and then that's not, it's all original music from the Broadway show.
I didn't know it was a musical until I walked in.
Exactly. Now, I only knew that because I did research into it going in. The average person sees a trailer, they don't know that. So you go in, and honest to God, when we're in the theater, and it's actually fairly full, by the third time, once you realize the first song, when they're just in class and they're having a conversation, all of a sudden they just break out into song like musicals will do. Everybody in the theater died laughing like, this is the stupidest thing we've ever seen. And I'm terrified that you're going to go into Joker, and the average person is not going to. I think it's a mistake to not market it as a musical, because then you have, what is this? This is a musical? I mean, Lady Gaga's an actor too. I didn't necessarily think she was going to be singing all the time. That now being popular music over original music will help, I think. It'd be better than there's just an original song that they're communicating in song or something.
So this is like a Moulin Rouge concept in a way?
Yes, that seems to be the case. And one piece of music that they used a lot during the original marketing of the original Joker was Smile. If you care about your smile, I recommend you visit Alabama Dental Associates. They make me smile. I'm so happy to have found a dental solution for all of my dental care needs. Located on Grants Mill Road, Alabama Dental Associates, led by Dr. Jeff and Dr. Brian, who you see right at this very moment. Make sure, first and foremost, that their patients are well taken care of. You're going to know that from the moment in which you go in. The staff is very friendly. They keep up to date with all the appointments in which you've set through text message. It's a very simple process. They can help you feel at ease knowing you're taken care of when it comes to all of your dental needs. For more information or to make an appointment, call them at 205-956-8977. That's 956-8977. Or visit them online at alabamadental.com. They look forward to seeing you. I still look very forward to seeing Joker 2. This poster is underwhelming, but the way this movie will be judged truly is going to be from the trailer that drops a week from today. And that may have us all singing a different tune. Rockstar, just based on the poster alone, are you anticipating this movie any more than you were before?
I'm confused, to be honest. The marketing, I know that Todd Phillips said that when this came out, this is a single, this is not a series, we're not doing anymore. And of course, $1 bajillion was offered to him. And it seems like at the board meeting, it's just like, what if, sit with me here, they sing, and it's almost like, well, just want a joke or two. If you just make half of what you made, that's fine. We'll lose half of it. So what I'm confused is, if they're not marketing it, is it going to be 50% music? Is it just going to be 3 full songs they sing? In the trailer, are they going to include singing? That's because I think what John said with Mean Girls, I think there's going to be a lot of people that go, they're just like, oh my God, this is a musical.
Tyler, regardless of whether or not it's the right decision, it is a risky decision because you may be telling a large percentage of the audience right off the bat, if they decide to be transparent with their marketing that this is a musical, which I think they will be, they have to be, that you're telling them to stay at home because they don't like musicals in the first place.
Yeah, that's a really risky situation because you can tell them and risk no one coming to your movie, or you cannot say it and then have everybody come into the movie who was a big fan of Joker 1 and then sit there going, what's going on? Why are they singing Bad Romance?
Yeah, sorry, Grandma, for dragging you to this, that sort of thing. Grandma was like, I love it. We have Samuel who says, and this is a different universe than Reeves' universe, which is different universe than Gunn's. Yes.
Yep.
All separate Gotham universes. Wonderful. There are just so many different Gotham universes. And will we see Batman in any capacity in Joker 2? There's a chance. We saw Bruce Wayne in the original Joker. There's a chance because of what happens at the end of Joker.
Well, what's the time jump here? Have they said?
We don't know. We don't know.
If there's not, it'll still be a little kid.
I also don't know how much of this is just whimsical fantasy and he's locked up in an insane asylum and he never really got out, or how much of this is actually going to progress the story from Joker 1 going forward of what the riots in Gotham, you know, the Murray Franklin show bit, all that stuff. So
if Batman shows up, can we get Kiss from a Rose?
Oh, yes.
I think it'd be great.
I wouldn't hate that.
AI generated, of course.
Of course, yeah.
It feels good.
I wouldn't hate that at all. Let's see here. We have Sick Nasty Heat. Happy freaking Tuesday. Happy freaking Tuesday to you, Sick Nasty Heat. Appreciate you being here.
You finished 4th. You got a little money.
We have Jace that says Melton and Dunaway top tier Segwayists. Thank you. I take that as a compliment. I think Dunaway's still the king of the mountain when it comes to the Segway game, but I'm working my way up in credibility. That's what I hope to do. Let's see. We have Steven who says they should have used Jennifer Lawrence. I don't know if that is instead of Lady Gaga for this role, or if maybe
Joker
we're talking about something else.
She's not doing it for me. That's a hard pass.
Jace also said this movie's going to be so weird, isn't it? Yes, it is. It is going to be. And I think this movie will probably be more traumatic to watch than the first one. I think they're going to figure out ways to make this thing even more vile than the first one in different ways.
Since they do this Batman, all this Batman stuff for the years that they have had these surprises, it seems like all these twists, like everybody was upset about Heath Ledger being cast as Joker. That turned out to be okay. Everybody was upset about, a lot of people were upset about Robert Pattinson being Batman. Turned out to be okay. Is this like a thing where everybody takes a gamble on this franchise?
I just feel like
I'm trying to double down on what the last guy did.
When this is something definitely that is original in that this has never been done before.
Correct.
Even the 60s Batman series knew not to turn it into some sort of
They didn't want to make it cheesy.
dinner show feeling, and they're really going for it here.
Was this Todd Phillips or Warner Brothers?
This is Todd Phillips. This is the best analogy I can give you when it comes to Batman previously. The original Batman was made in 1989 under the thumb of the studio of, we really want you to take very limited risk and deliver a solid Batman movie. The one thing Tim Burton was able to get across the finish line was having Michael Keaton as cast as Batman, and the backlash was intense. But overall, he had to play by the rules of the studio system. When that movie became one of the highest grossing movies of all time, and it dominated that entire summer, immediately they're going, we got to get a sequel here in the works. So Tim Burton, we're offering you the moon. You can have every creative leverage you want. Go for it. Just deliver us the same level of success. And that is how you got a Batman Returns. because Tim Burton said, oh, I can go full Tim Burton here. Let me do this. And he made a young Laurel Lunsford cry in the theater. That's what he did, because it's a vile, disgusting movie. I have an affinity for it in many different aspects, but overall, not the most rewatchable Batman. And because of that, corporate partners like McDonald's got a little upset. Hey, you're making kids cry and we're selling Happy Meals toys to them? What are you doing? And DC and Tim Burton said, maybe it's best as we just put our partnership on hold. We still love Batman and everything. We appreciate what you did. We'll let you executive produce Batman Forever, but we're not going to have you be a part of this. Keaton says, hey, you're taking my visionary director away? I'm not coming back either, which was why we got Birdman so many years later. Batman Forever happens. Joel Schumacher comes in and delivers another corporate hit. That movie was financially successful. It had the biggest comedy star in the world at the time, arguably in Jim Carrey, the height of his zany antics. It had a Tommy Lee Jones coming in off of a Fugitive Award win as Two-Face.
Iceman.
And then you had what was, we need to rush something into production to sell toys this time, and that was Batman and Robin. So that's the history of Batman. It's always been, you give us one, and then we'll give you one. And what Todd Phillips is getting right now is his chance to make his vision of what he wants to make, because he was under a lot of pressure with the original Joker to deliver an under-budget experience that then over-delivered in every capacity. So I cannot wait to see how this turns out, not only creatively, but also just from the business side of things. Because if you take the two movies together, no matter how bad this movie bombs,
They can make zero and you're still making over $1 billion.
Still a profitable franchise, just the Joker franchise. So it'll be fascinating. But it's a huge bit of news that today, it's been confirmed that a week from today we get the trailer. And I promise you this, the minute it drops, we will have a trailer reaction as soon as possible up for you right here on this channel. So make sure you are subscribed. All right. I've got to move on to this. Variety reports that the creator of X-Files, Chris Carter, is not involved in the upcoming reboot in any capacity. It's being shepherded by, do we know who's behind the next X-Files? Everybody looked it up? Ryan Coogler. Hitmaker Ryan Coogler. You know him behind the Creed franchise. You know him behind Black Panther. You know him behind films that I really have an affinity for, like Fruitvale Station, where he jumped on the scene. Him and Michael B. Jordan, their creative visions together aligned are perfection. In a new interview with Inverse, Carter said he has no reservations about letting someone else put their stamp on the beloved franchise. Quote, it's interesting. People say, aren't you possessive of it? And I say, no, I'm looking forward to seeing what someone else does with it, adding that he had a really nice conversation with Coogler when the latter first pitched his idea for an X-Files reboot for Fox. Brian, were you an X-Files fan during its original run with Mulder and Scully?
No, but I was a huge fan of Chris Carter when he was with the Vikings. He was fantastic.
Wow.
But no, X-Files, I think if there was a space genre around that time, Stargate may have been more kind of my speed, but X-Files was cool. I mean, I just never had time to watch it. You know, iconic characters, no doubt about it.
Mulder and Scully.
A Twilight Zone almost for a new generation, but aliens and stuff like that, I'd rather stick with Randy Quaid and Independence Day, to be honest.
I love Independence Day very much, and if you're talking mid-90s sci-fi, I was much more on the Independence Day scene than I was X-Files. My sister was a huge X-Files fan. John, did you ever get into the X-Files? And if not, does a Coogler X-Files excite you?
I was very much into the X-Files growing up. The alien supernatural side more than, I guess, a little bit of a horror side that you had with it, too. I like both movies, even though I feel like people hated the second movie. I like both movies. I did like the first one better. But, no, I was all about the X-Files. And, you know, they brought it back for a hot second there. I don't remember what year it was. It was a while back. But they brought it back for like a 10-episode thing on I watched it on Hulu. I assume it was on Fox. But they started getting into, hey, we're going to get into the bigger picture of the story behind X-Files, and then just totally fell off a cliff and they stopped. Right. And I think they were waiting for, maybe if this works, we'll keep going, and they didn't keep going, and so it just kind of stopped. So it's a chapter that doesn't even get recognized, I feel like, in X-Files. I feel like Ryan Coogler has done good. I have not seen Fruitvale Station, but I've seen pretty much everything else. I feel like he has done good, but still overall has a very, very, very small list that he has done. Now, it's good.
All those things are massive hits, though.
But he's got Creed and Black Panther. That's it.
Rocky, you love 90s pop culture. Did the X-Files ever do it for you?
Yes and no. I like the first movie. The second movie was god awful. Sorry. What was interesting, it's like Law and Order. What's cool about the X-Files is you can watch season 6, episode 5, and you're not going to be. It's everything's a new story. There are some kind of connections and everything, but like it's like Law and Order. I enjoyed that, but I never seeked it out. It's one of those ones where like, yeah, I don't mind that show. Do you watch it? No.
Right.
Do you feel like John Duchovny and Anderson have to return in some capacity to get this thing over with the X-Files fandom, because they are the show?
Yeah.
They are the show, and they do have to return, but I just don't know if it would work if they return. I don't know where the actors, where they are right this second, would work now how it did back in the day when they were on the show. That's not a slam on they don't need to be on the show, because the show was them. Right. But where they are right now, I don't know that them being there is what we need.
We've talked about studio intervention and what they want. Fox originally wanted somebody else to play the role of Scully, and that was Pamela Anderson. They wanted Anderson.
They wanted somebody hot. They said
early 90s.
Alien.
Yeah.
And
I said Gillian Anderson wasn't hot. Couldn't fit the role. You had to have somebody hot.
I guess they probably heard Gillian Anderson. They're like, I'm sorry, was this name supposed to be Pamela Anderson? Or
Well, I got you an Anderson. God.
Yeah, but those roles, iconic, and they've held up all these years in fandom. People still go crazy for these two roles. One thing that the original creator had to say was that it's going to be much tougher to do the X-Files now, because literally everyone's a conspiracy theorist online, and there's so many different conspiracy theories that exist. And how do you make a show about conspiracy theories being the oddball in the room when now everyone is kind of playing in the role of conspiracy theorist in some capacity, because you don't know what the truth is anymore?
Truth is out there, though.
It is.
That's
and
what they say.
They'll try to find it. There's another franchise that may or may not have seen its final days. That is Wonder Woman. You may remember that Linda Carter, who became a television icon as the star of the live-action Wonder Woman series from 1975 to 1979, popped up at the end of Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman 1984, which was not a good film. Brian, did you see Wonder Woman 84?
No, nothing since 80 whatever.
Good for you.
No Wonder Woman.
Good for you. The tease in that movie led many to believe a third Wonder Woman movie would unite Carter and Gal Gadot on the big screen, but the sequel was announced as dead in August of 2023. In a new interview with Yahoo Entertainment, Carter heavily suggested that she would have been back in Wonder Woman 3. She described Jenkins' plans for the sequel as really interesting, wonderful, and about something important, not just your typical thing. Well, what was the sequel idea for Wonder Woman 84? Carter said about Warner Brothers, quote, I don't think they want to do it unless there's enough pressure from fans. I just think they have the mind to do it.
So get to it.
Yeah, right.
And I just don't think they have the mind to do it, and I don't understand that, because it seems to me that Wonder Woman is different from other characters. She's not just a superhero. Her whole thing is about peaceful solutions. She's not aggressive to be aggressive. It's a different story. It's about inner strength, outer strength. I don't know why they tabled it, because it's a great franchise. In other words, Linda Carter wants to get paid, and she's wondering, what the heck happened here? John, a lot has happened with DC and Warner Brothers, and right now, here in 2024, in the early stages of 2024, the big box office winner of the year so far is Warner Brothers. They are crushing it in almost every capacity, coming off the success of Wonka at the end of 2023, Dune Part 2, which Tyler has seen 17 times.
Only 5.
Okay,
Only
it was
5.
it's a little off.
No, what's going on?
And now with Godzilla X Kong crushing the box office, making almost $20 to $35 million more than expected domestically in its opening weekend. John, why would Warner Brothers want to even waste their time with another Wonder Woman at this point?
Because the first one was kind of well received? Question mark? I mean, they shouldn't. The DCEU should die a horrible death. It is dying a horrible death. It is going away. Zack Snyder is a lot behind that, and not that he necessarily had everything to do with Wonder Woman specifically, but you know, in the new James Gunn universe, maybe there's a place for Wonder Woman eventually, but you got to start off with starting off with Superman is what they're doing. You got to get Superman right. You got to get whatever kind of Batman is going to be involved with this right. And if you do a Wonder Woman, you got to get it right. But the truth is, you got to start from square one. And if you start making all the plans now, because it felt like with DC, they were in catch-up mode to what Marvel was doing, that Disney was doing with the MCU, that we got to get going. So Batman v Superman came out as basically a sequel to Man of Steel, and that's Wonder Woman too. is a massive part of that then leads into her own movie. And I mean, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, it's kind of where it stops when it comes to people giving any kind of positive reviews for movies from the DCEU. At least for me, that's pretty much where the positive reviews stop. So, like, you just got to move on from the whole franchise and
got to rip the Band-Aid off. And Wonder Woman is a casualty of that.
It may suck for Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot, who are doing fine because the first one was good, even though the second one wasn't very good.
I would make the argument if Wonder Woman 84 had been an all-timer, we would have seen a Wonder Woman 3. But because it
and
fell
it may
off
would have
a
saved
cliff,
the whole thing for, hey, let's just go with Wonder Woman and see if maybe that can revive some things.
I have a theory as to why it didn't perform really well. There was never a Six Flags Over Georgia ride about Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's
we have
fair.
Batman
That's
and
fair.
Superman. I mean, Ninja at least did something.
Oh, by the way, there was also a worldwide pandemic that made it a day-and-date
Well, these things
release
happen.
on Christmas Day or whatever. And,
Yeah.
and also the movie wasn't good. So word
Also,
of mouth on it was
didn't
not good.
Patty Jenkins leave DC to go make a Star Wars movie that never
Well-
got made?
Technically, yes. She has left, but she didn't choose to leave. She was asked to leave.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't want to move forward with Wonder Woman. Well, I guess I better be going over and taking that Star Wars job.
Then the Star Wars job disappeared, and now it's back, and so that's still up in the air.
Patty
What's actually gonna
Jenkins
happen.
is now developing a Rogue Squadron movie for Disney and Lucasfilm. It's being sold as sort of the Top Gun Maverick of the Star Wars universe, of maybe having to rebuild the Rebel fleet after it has been dismantled.
It's like
And
Wonder Woman had planes in it. Let's get her because Chris Pine was a pilot.
let's talk about something you know and love, Brian, and that is Disney. Disney Cinema, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Zoe Saldana has made some statements here recently, asked on an episode of the Playlist Discourse podcast if she was done playing Gamora in the Marvel Cinematic Universe now that James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy has ended. Gunn obviously overseeing all things DC, which we've talked about. And some of Saldana's co-stars, like Dave Bautista, have basically said, I'm done playing Drax. I think Chris Pratt there may be a spinoff that involves him as Star-Lord down the road that doesn't need the other Guardians. She said this, quote, I mean, so far, I think she is gone for good for me, but I don't think Gamora has gone for good, suggesting basically that she's not interested in playing Gamora right now, but is fully expecting for the character to come back in some sort of reboot formation. I think Saldana's a little off here. Maybe she's making a ploy to have a little bit of fan outrage, so that way there's a greenlit project with her in it. It's way too early to reboot Guardians of the Galaxy in any capacity, including recasting Gamora in any role. The ride at Disney, did it resurge your love of Guardians? Have you loved Guardians from the moment they popped up on the screen and Chris Pratt was dancing around? Or
Here is the honest truth
Yes.
about my first experience with Guardians of the Galaxy. Lunsford, you've probably been 5 times at least.
Oh, yeah.
I've only done it once. And I was waiting for the big drop or the spoiler alert, this is a ride that goes
It's an
differently.
inside ride, so it doesn't have.
It
the
goes
giant hill
differently.
that go
So
down.
you don't know what is coming because of the way the vehicles are going. There, we'll leave it at that. So I was waiting for the drop or the thing that was going to be the highlight of the ride, but it never came. So therefore, I was anticipating something that never happened, kind of like some of these movies Tyler was talking about. And because of that, I didn't enjoy it as much because I was so focused on when is it the bottom going to fall out or the upside down loop or something like that. So I guarantee if I go back, yes, I would enjoy that ride, but it is so well put together and almost acts as a compliment to that entire series. I mean, it really is fun.
I think it's creating everyday new waves of more connected fans. I think that ride has had such a positive word of mouth on it. And I don't think you can launch that ride and then immediately start recasting the Guardians just because they generate money for Disney.
No.
Zoe Saldana, is she making a play here for some more Guardians projects in the future? Or do you believe her that she's making the argument that the minute that Gamora pops back on screen, she's going to be right there on the first row and she's going to be happy to see it? Why make these statements right now? What does she know that we don't right now?
People make statements all the time about the movies they've been in, and a lot of it has to do with Disney, whether it be Star Wars or Marvel, that they go back, start bad-mouthing things, and on some podcasts, and it's like, why did you do that? Because guess what? You're not going to get a job for 3 years, and you're going to be, begging for that paycheck to come back and do the next Star Wars or Marvel movie or TV show or whatever it may be. But like from strictly the narrative standpoint of what we've seen from Guardians, I do truly believe there's only 3 Guardians that will remain a part of the story. And it's Chris Pratt and it's Rocket and Groot, because Rocket and Groot are motion captured. And all you got to do is get, and even Groot, you're going to probably have to recast because Vin Diesel's had issues now. So you got Bradley Cooper as a big name. You had Vin Diesel as a big name, but they're easy to do. And then you have Chris Pratt, who's still part of this universe.
I know Disney's had a lot of problems lately with having to question recast or not recast, but I feel like replacing Vin Diesel as Groot
It's the easiest one to do.
is the easiest recast in the history of recasting. Anyway, that's all I will say.
It's a name that you had, but yes, it's the easiest to recast. Yeah. But I say all that to say that's where I think they are right now with Guardians. The ride, narratively, takes place after the first movie, because if you've seen in Infinity War / Endgame, you know what happened to that planet. So I think the ride has done a good job getting people onto that. And I think the prime example of that is Ryan Brown from The Next Round doesn't know the first thing about superheroes. He is literally, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, he's the most ignorant person when it comes to superheroes in the world. But he...
blissfully ignorant, but still ignorant.
He loves the Guardians roller coaster, and he knows anything about Guardians because of riding that roller coaster and because of the experience Disney World has provided him from the standpoint of Guardians of the Galaxy, which is the best thing they do for the Marvel side of things at Disney World. I know Disneyland does stuff too, but that I feel like is the whole reason why, once again, getting to your point, you can't change it. However, Zoe Saldana has one thing that nobody else in that cast has. That is Avatar. That she's in already the highest grossing movies, 2 of the 3 highest grossing movies of all time. Now, yes, she was also in that number 2 and with Endgame as well, but she's not hurting because she is in the 2 highest grossing franchises. Yes. That she's not dropping out of this one. Like somebody like a John Boyega says something bad about Star Wars, and it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like that is your thing. Whether people liked it or not, that's your thing, and you're making money from it. Zoe Saldana's not that way. She has Avatar. She's
just getting started.
Yeah, she's just getting started with that. However James Cameron spins that story, I know he's got it all planned out, but there's no reason to badmouth Disney regardless, because even Avatar, there's a tie there. So like, don't start down that path.
Saldana also has another franchise, which is Star Trek.
Yep.
And right now, there's a report that Paramount has hired the flight attendant creator, Steve Yockey, to write the script for a 4th Star Trek movie that would center on the crew that appeared in the 2009 Star Trek, in the 2013 Star Trek Into Darkness, in 2016 Star Trek Beyond. And the crew includes Saldana coming back, Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Carl Urban, Simon Pegg, and more of the cast of characters. Ever a big Star Trek fan, Brian? Was that ever your thing?
Boy, I remember that 2009 movie hype because of Quinto with his work as Sylar from Heroes, and I remember thinking this guy is good and he's going to be the next big thing, and he kind of,
I thought he was great as Spock, but he did literally nothing after that. Yeah,
he was in American Horror Story.
He was
a few
great in
seasons
Horror
of that.
Story, yeah.
It's not
sure.
You're not helping Tyler.
I'm with you, Tyler. I'm on your side.
So was Lady
here,
Gaga.
dude.
We never brought that up when we were talking
That
about
was
her.
a disturbing scene.
Hotel was a crazy season.
Saldana said this, quote, "I would think it would be a huge loss for Marvel if they didn't find a way to bring back the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just such a fan favorite group of misfits." Right. And then at the helm, they had a voice like James Gunn's writing, which is just so marvelous for and very specific for the genre. And it's so great for this genre as well. So I would be the first one in the first row to sort of celebrate when the Guardians of the Galaxy come back. This is the strangest interview. I don't know. Yeah. Comeback. We just had Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I know that it's kind of looked at as the final chapter because Gunn is gone, but they're not recasting Gamora anytime soon. They're not doing that. I don't know where all this is starting.
Just recasting Gamora to keep it the same Gamora within the universe. And I know when we get to the end of this Avengers that the whole universe thing is going to explode probably. But Gamora has one of the most impactful scenes in the Infinity Saga to where you can't then, and I think they did a good job bringing her back, but you can't then change the actress all of a sudden. And it's like, we're going to keep going with it. No, you just can't do that.
I know, Brian, you talked about the drop on the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. Non-drop. I'll tell you this. I'm very excited about the scale and it dropping, the number, every single day.
I was wondering where you're going.
With the team at
Way to Wellness. You can always tell when he's starting.
Yeah. I love it.
Can't always tell.
As a fan of the show, I look forward to these transitions.
I can tell when you're starting to segue. It's just, okay, which one are you going to go to at the end here? Anyway, yes. Way to Wellness is great.
Way to Wellness is great. Friendly staff, very warm, and it does take a team that's passionate about what they do every day to get the results, because when you walk in and you see their passion, it makes you that much more passion. And it's an everyday struggle. We all face it, of what we're going to choose to be a part of our nutritional balance. And the team at Way to Wellness, John, makes it very simple.
They do. I got my snacks right here. I ate one right before we started the show because they have me on the right plan for losing weight. They have Tim on the right plan. They have Jim Dunaway on the right plan. My dad's on the plan. It's literally a family affair with Way to Wellness. Go to aplanforme.com and do that consultation. See if it's the right thing for you. They can develop a plan for you. Leslie and her whole board-certified team, they will get you on the right track just like they have Tim and I on the right track. We're going to weigh in tomorrow, so we'll see where we are. We can get that point total, bring it in for you on how much we've lost since our last weigh-in. I'm over 40 down. Tim is down as well, so looking forward to going and doing that. So go to aplanforme.com. You, too, can do that. And, hey, we'll add all of our totals together and see how much we can drop collectively with Way to Wellness.
I don't know if there will be a weigh-in for the upcoming Mike Tyson and Logan Paul? Jake Paul. I mixed them up. I'm sorry. The Jake Paul match that's happening on Netflix. But it has the potential to be another PR bump for what is going to be billed as a must-see spectacle. Let's talk a little bit about this fight. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, who, by the way, has a 9-1 record with 6 KOs, will fight in Texas on July 20th. On Netflix, the high-profile fight will take place with no headgear, with Tyson currently the heavy favorite to win. Is that right, John? Give me some numbers
so.
on this.
I'll let you
Look
know.
at this. The rules for Jake Paul's clash with Mike Tyson in Texas have been announced. Are you guys ready?
Here we go.
Jake Paul now the favorite, according to our friends at MyBookie.ag, minus 155, Mike Tyson plus 115.
Maybe it was because these new rules just got dropped, and here we go. They will be wearing 16-ounce boxing gloves instead of the traditional 10-ounce boxing gloves. Tyson will have to undergo several tests to be allowed to fight the 27-year-old.
Cognitive.
2-minute rounds will be in place instead of the usual 3-minute rounds, and there will be no official judges ringside to score the fight. The only way either Paul or Iron Mike could win the fight would be if there was a knockout on the night of the bout. Rockstar, will you be watching this live as it happens on Netflix?
No. Do they have, is it like, is boxing match in quotes?
It is not.
Should be.
How is this? I'm
It's
guessing.
a moneymaker.
I know it's a moneymaker. I get it. But then they do these stupid rules and then call it a boxing match. So what is this for? I know it's for money, but what is this for Tyson and Paul? What is this?
Money.
It's
I don't know how
literally
else to answer.
Yeah,
just
give me
money.
something else besides money.
Okay.
Just money.
Clout. How's that?
That I beat.
So you can turn it into more money?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's all about money, are y'all
Swimming pools of money, Rockstar.
And I'm guessing it's another thing for Netflix to push over live sporting events on streaming. I get that, but it's all about money and stuff like that. But this,
Boxing is the biggest money grab in all of sports. Because even
is.
when
Always.
Deontay,
HBO,
even when
always.
Deontay Wilder was champion, which is the only time I've really paid attention to it because he was a local guy, even still, he'd have a fight, and it's like, okay, he can fight Anthony Joshua next. He can fight Tyson Fury or whichever Fury was the one he fought. And he can fight all these people. Oh, no, instead he's going to fight some German guy who's 0-1 professionally because he wants to collect a paycheck. He'll do it in Birmingham or he'll go to the Barclays Center or do it somewhere in Vegas. Yep. He'll collect a $10 million paycheck, not lose. It's an easy win for him. All he cares about is collecting that paycheck. He never fought a legitimate fighter until he fought Fury, and then he lost. And it was all done at that point. So he tried to collect that paycheck as much as possible. So all boxing is how can we possibly get a match so that my guy can get paid the most out of it? It's not about winning. It's not about losing.
you asked me, are you going to be watching this match? Forget that you do this show.
Yep.
Are you going to be watching this match?
I will argue, yes, I will be watching it.
You're going to argue. Okay.
I don't know what will
because
be
it's on
happening at
Netflix.
the time.
Here's how he'll answer that question, Rocket. What date is this fight without looking?
July 20th.
Okay, he'll watch it.
Yeah.
Yes, July 20th.
Didn't we land on the moon on July 20th?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's, I don't know.
Once and I may be at Disney by then. Who
That's
knows?
right.
Better things to do.
Hey, I'll remember it's happening because Tim will probably bring it up on this show, and the next round will bring it up, and it'll be like, oh, yeah,
Guys,
let's turn that on. Why not?
Everyone,
even know the right Paul.
everyone,
It's the Prime guy, right?
guys,
Yeah.
I mixed
It's the one
it
from
up.
WrestleMania,
Okay?
right?
I'm sure I'm the
Simon
first person
or
ever to mix up their names. I apologize about that.
Happens literally every
The
time.
guy
we talk
who
about it.
hangs out in the forest.
Let me ask you this, Brian.
Yeah.
You're a wrestling fan. I'm a wrestling fan.
I am.
This feels very wrestling-esque, doesn't it? The build up to it.
The only thing missing is Don King, and he's alive.
He's
alive.
People need a
And,
daily reminder.
I
of
mean,
that.
if we've got to see what Tyson looks like in the 2020s, we should see Don King out there. Little American flag.
Ooh, he is
and then
92.
Yeah, I
Still
mean,
kicking.
he's alive.
How much would they pay if he goes, ha, only on Netflix?
Dude. I'm telling you, you got something there. But so we talk about sequels. Does this now lead to the next round of the celebrity boxing, celebrity death match back in the day with MTV?
Hey, with AI, it's not having claymation anymore.
This
It
is
can
the
just be real.
AI.
Yeah.
Hitman Hearns is coming back in 2025, I heard.
the entire world is rooting for Mike Tyson in this fight, right?
The entire
Correct.
world was rooting for it to be July 21st.
I'm sorry that I even brought it up. I didn't know you guys would be offended by
Maybe
it.
the Paris
I just-
Olympics start by then, and we got something else we can watch.
we're
that's
talking-
better.
26. We'll be close.
Oh, yeah.
If we're talking about cultural events happening this year, this fight is one of them.
It's fun.
I think it's a big promotion that people are going to be captivated by, and there's going to be a lot of people going, how stupid is this? That are going to be logging on and watching on Netflix, either live or the replay, or they're going to be streaming it somewhere illegally, and you're going to see this thing pirated all across different platforms.
This is not just like Netflix without having to pay more, right?
Yes.
Like ESPN
It's on
Plus,
Netflix.
like you get ESPN Plus, you still got to pay for like UFC pay per
From
views.
what I've heard, it's just a Netflix subscriber thing, and they care about one thing, and that is subscriber growth. And they've had buckets of cash to be able to hand out to different projects, and they're getting more and more into live content. We've seen that with WWE. Let's talk a little bit about wrestling because we've gotten ratings for quarter one, and according to Variety, WWE's weekly shows saw improvements in the quarter one key demo ratings, their target audience, year over year, while basically remaining steady in total viewership. Compared to the same time period last year, SmackDown, which is currently on Fox, is up 15% in adults 18 to 49 and up 3% in total viewers with 2.4 million viewers per episode. Brian, I assume this information does not surprise you in the least bit with how hot wrestling is right now.
41-year-old. I'm starting to get back into a weekly habit watching it. In some areas, there's back to the sports part of it, but it is what it is at this point, especially when you're talking WWE. It's entertainment. It is theatrics at its highest level.
Is this the closest
it's
thing
fun.
we've gotten to the Attitude Era since the Attitude Era?
There, in the sense that there is competition now, where now fans are starting to take a side over the other. Yes. In terms of story quality, we're still just seeing a bunch of random guys who have personality, but no like soap opera, oh, you got to see next week type thing. So it's getting there. It's a lot closer than we've been. But you remember the Attitude Era. It wasn't just wrestling that made it popular. It was South Park. It was Jerry Springer. It was these things that were just so out there that everything came together at once. I don't know if there's other forms of media that are helping wrestling grow like that, but they are going back to some basics, which is just great characters. Now they just need the storylines to go one step further, and we're back to a great era of wrestling.
Monday Night Raw is up 6% in the key demo, but down 7% in total viewers. They've got 1.7 million viewers per episode, and that's because Raw is currently on USA Network compared to SmackDown being available on Fox. NXT actually saw the biggest increase percentage-wise of the three shows, up 31% in the key demo, up 31%, and up 7% in total viewers. That's huge for Shawn Michaels and the NXT gang that is producing a really quality show right now.
And so NXT is the example of you don't watch that every week like religiously like we've been ingrained to do Raw and such, but you could drop in on an NXT and feel like you know these characters. So I think that's one thing that Shawn Michaels excels at is, again, fleshing out characters. The storylines are somewhat there, more so than the main product, but I feel NXT now lives on the reputation of decent weekly show, maybe an all-timer every once in a while, but boy, when they deliver their premium live events, it's can't miss. And you could go 4 months without seeing them and still be wowed by that talent.
John, a lot of people like to criticize wrestling as being dumb. There's a lot of individuals that do that, but there's no doubt it is a draw. SmackDown has ranked number one in the key demo for all total day Friday broadcast for 11 of the first 12 weeks of this quarter. The February 16th episode of The Weekly Show, which currently airs on Fox, nabbed 985,000 viewers in the demo, making it the most viewed primetime broadcast program of that week. And Raw was the number one Monday night cable show in the demo for 9 of the first 13 weeks of the quarter. These are big ratings draws. You have it on at Poker when we're there playing at the PTPC.
I do have it on at Poker, and I only kind of casually watch it because I do have ESPN on another TV, and there's something usually going on I kind of want to watch there. But I will say, the ratings now versus the ratings in the fall when you have Monday Night Football to compete against, and then Friday night, high school Friday nights for people to do something on Friday as opposed to SmackDown. I do think moving it to Friday is better than what it was on Thursday because there's even more competition on Thursday. Friday, outside of, high school football in the fall and just general going out on Friday nights, that TV-wise, there is really nothing else there that I would hope it would be at the top, but if the numbers are still growing, that means more people are just tuning into that as opposed to it just being at the top.
Wrestling was already pretty healthy and it was growing, and then you had a return of CM Punk, which was a shot to the arm for sure of intrigue. And then you had the return of The Rock. Bringing back these big names, even if they're not at their peak physical condition right now, is still a huge ratings draw, and WWE now has an influx of support behind bringing back some of these bigger, more established names, while also still trying to elevate a lot of the younger guys on the roster. Right now, it feels like a healthy blend of the old and the new, Brian.
It is, and that's in terms of fan base, too. So you're talking guys who, in the case of The Rock, started mid-'90s, really got popular late 90s. That was during my youth. Well, now you've got The Rock, and my kids are watching The Rock. So now, even though they're not that key demographic, you've got this new group of kids who are coming along, seeing how cool wrestling can be and these personalities. And I've told you guys this before. These guys are my superheroes. When you guys on the daily shows talk about your superheroes and you talk in the inner workings of even people as random as Aquaman, I could tell you how random, insert wrestler.
Man.
Yeah, big boss man. And, how him and Akeem fought the Rockers at WrestleMania 5 and he went out, we get into it. But that's what's being cool is now this next generation is starting to have these superheroes called professional wrestlers or superstars. And it's not just the men, it's the females. This whole women's revolution that's been happening for a decade with women's wrestling, now they're turning into these incredible athletes, and it's hitting everybody in the right time.
I thought the best WrestleMania match of last year was Ripley and Flair. I really did.
Those women tore into each other like their lives depended on it, and then probably hugged and cried backstage as friends. It was amazing.
I thought it was incredible. WrestleMania 40 is this weekend, which is why we have a heavy dose of wrestling here, not only in the live show, but also on the channel. We will have the first ever Pavlik 6-pack up for your viewing enjoyment, starring, yes, the man himself, Brian Pavlik, as he unveils those 6 storylines going into WrestleMania 40 that he absolutely can't wait to see if those stories come to the proper conclusion. And he's even mapped out some of those perfect fantasy bookings of how things should play their way out this weekend at WrestleMania. It is something that we'll be watching for sure, and we'll have more information on next week after the event and after the Monday Night Raw that airs post-WrestleMania. As Variety has previously reported, all 3 weekly WWE shows are set to shift their network homes in the coming year. SmackDown will return to USA Network. NXT will move to the CW. And in the biggest shift of them all, Raw has found a new home on Netflix beginning in January 2025. If you're looking for a new home, I recommend Realtor Jim Wilson with Location Real Estate. When looking for that new place to call home, remember our friend with Location Real Estate, Jim Wilson. Jim's still an active member of the U.S. military and is, simply put, a good guy who cares, doesn't take shortcuts when it comes to home buying. He's able to help you secure the American dream of finding your perfect home, cares deeply about making sure you're given all the information needed during the biggest purchase of your life. Jim's only happy when you're completely happy. Each of his clients has his full energy when looking to accomplish their real estate goals, not only during the home buying or selling experience, but every day after. He's an advocate for you and your interests. Whether you're buying or selling, contact our friend, Realtor Jim Wilson, with Location Real Estate at 205-329-4758 or visit jimwilson.locationre.com. It is now time for the thing in which we have been anticipating the most on this show. There have been so many notable personalities that have graced the squared circle over the past several decades. One of them rose to the top of John's fandom with all the fire and brimstone and a brotherly feud for the ages. But who are the other big wrestling stars that win the gold-plated championship of John's affection? Let's get ready to discuss his personal picks on another brand new edition of Luntz's List.
What is this? What is this? Luntz's List, Luntz's List, oh. What is this? What is this? Luntz's List, Luntz's List, oh. Luntz's List to five. Luntz's List to five. Luntz's List to five. Luntz's List to five.
All right, John, here is the task. We need you to name the 5 wrestlers other than Kane that you have an affinity for. How'd you approach this list? Because it really is your top 6, not just your top 5.
Yeah, because Kane is number 1. But these are all much bigger names because I have been more of a casual fan. Even in the peak of the Attitude Era, I still was, I'd watch once or twice a month. Whatever Saturday show used to come on WCW, I used to always watch that all the time.
Saturday night.
That for some reason, just Saturday nights, it was like after football or whatever, I could watch that, or even in the offseason, I could watch that. But, yeah, these are all, for the most part, big names. That's all I have to say because the big names are a big name for a reason.
Well, good. Let's start with number 5.
And if you don't mind, John, while you go, I'm going to play the at-home edition that I play every day at my house.
Oh, my gosh.
So
That's dedication. The at-home edition of Luntz's List. We should sell.
I was about to say the same thing. We need to make our own at-home edition.
Somebody get Reed on the
y'all
phone.
make shirts. We make a at-home edition.
We need an
of Luntz's
at-home
List.
edition of Luntz's List.
Yeah.
Ooh, starting off strong, John. Mankind.
I'm
Seen them before.
I'm surprised this is the number 5 spot because you have a reputation here of
do.
dressing up constantly, and you've been doing this, 4 or 5 times around the office just for fun.
Yeah.
Is dressing up as Mick Foley's Mankind.
Truth is, Mankind's the only one I can really pull off. Therefore, I dress up as Mankind there. At number 5, I like Mankind better than Cactus Jack Dude Love. I mean, I like Mick Foley the person, obviously, but of his, Mankind is definitely my favorite. Therefore, I guess you won't see Cactus Jack or Dude Love appear on the list, but I also would consider this all kind of one person at number 5 overall with Mick Foley. But Mankind, the look, the feel of Mankind, the matches Mankind participated in, obviously I don't know, is that considered the most iconic thing in wrestling when Undertaker threw him off or not? But it's
I'd
Mankind.
put it
What can I
right
say?
up there with the Hogan Andre Slam. I would. It's one of the iconic pieces of wrestling imagery for sure.
Yeah.
So a strong choice there at number 5. You said you met Mick Foley, Brian? Is
I
that
have
correct?
not,
You have
but
not.
I tell you why I like the Mankind character myself. He had 2 theme songs. He had an intro song, and he had one, a more somber tone as he was choking somebody out in the middle of the ring. Very iconic.
Yeah.
There you go. Mr. Sacco.
Mr. Sacco.
John, I'm just going to make a Mr. Sacco joke, but I decided not to. Can you give us a little bit of the voice there? Who's your number 5? And what kind of day would you like us to have?
Oh, nice.
I can't do it.
Yes, you can. You can do it.
Have a nice day.
That's John's version of Mankind.
That's my version. I'm laughing. I did a lot better when I was on the next round. Anyway,
Quit
all
with
right.
the Pittsburgh stuff. I'm telling you. Every
It's a
time I
running
see
gag. It's a running gag these days.
Ryan Brown's probably like, why does Tim always look at me so angrily? It's because a rock star always going Pittsburgh.
Orange Ward.
Tyler, stop. It was the Steelers game. Stop. That's not what Bane sounded like in that movie at all. Number 4.
Undertaker. Should be a lot
It's
higher.
purple.
I like the
take it.
purple. The purple's a nice touch, John.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I can do a color, I try to match it. The problem is when I do that, and then I have no other ones to match, so I just gotta go black the rest of the time.
One half of the Brothers of Destruction.
Got to throw it. If Kane's my favorite, you got to go with the Undertaker as well. Now I do just like the Undertaker, and this is the story I always tell about the Undertaker. So for a while there, my dad is involved in drag racing with the NHRA, the National Hot Rod Association, and for a hot minute there, WWF sponsored a series of cars. And there was one, I'm trying to remember, there's one with Stone Cold. There was one with Triple H, I think. And then there was one with The Undertaker. And so at a race, The Undertaker came to promote the car. So, like, they're all staged up and everything. And this police car pulls in, and my dad's there with the car getting ready for their turn. And this police car pulls up, and this gigantic hand, I mean, it looked like this giant was getting out, and I imagine this is what people felt with Andre the Giant back in the day. But
This is how me and John met each other for the first time.
reaches up.
Was the pallbearer there?
That's not your best. Not your best.
Yeah, Paul Bearer not there, but this giant hand, and he like has to pull himself out of the car and contort because he's so giant in there, and like that was one of the first times like seeing giant wrestler in person. That like, hey, these are big dudes, and I know compared to like Andre the Giant, Undertaker's not that big compared to, Big Show, all that, but he's still one of the bigger ones.
Oh, yeah.
And just seeing the size of how big these guys actually are was incredible. And, I need to bring those cars, by the way. I have a couple of diecast
Did he
ones.
roll his eyes back at you?
No, it was one of those things you could tell he was paid to be there. He's just like,
Oh, that's cool.
and they got back in the car and left. That was pretty much it. But anyway, Undertaker definitely up there. Obviously, good WrestleMania matches, all that.
I'd love to see his one dead man show. I would. You have any interest in him doing his show, his touring show?
You know what? I didn't
check
think
that out.
he was that great of a public speaker, but now that he's come out as like him,
Oh, yeah. His
Oh,
Hall of
yeah.
Fame speech was great.
I think he'd be fantastic. Maybe not the funniest guy in the world, but
You watched any of these A&E biographies and all that stuff?
every once in a while I'll catch one,
They're
especially if it sparks my interest. But
They're good.
yeah.
All right, let's go with number 3 on Luntz's list. The 5 wrestlers, other than Kane, who is the champion of Luntz's list, that John likes. And we're getting all your lists in here, and we appreciate that. I don't want to spoil anything of John, so I'm going to let him go first. But I love that you guys are really filling
CM
up the
Punk
chat.
at number 3.
Oh,
was
wow.
gonna say,
Is he from Chicago? I think I heard something about
Brian,
that
I think
before.
so, yeah.
That's a funny joke. Yeah, he is proudly from Chicago.
Proudly from
Big Blackhawks fan for sure.
Oh, that's what it was from.
Gross.
Seen that Black
Huge
Hawks
Blackhawks fan.
That's what puts him down a step for me is the Blackhawks fandom. But no, I like CM Punk. Now, CM Punk not around growing up. Obviously, that's more of a recent thing, but you have to give CM Punk respect for the pipe bomb and everything that he did, leading to his exit from WWE, him coming back to AEW. I know was a big bump, and then obviously coming back here. Well, the problem is he came back here and instantly got injured. So back in WWE,
He's been injured a lot over the past few
he
years.
has. And what that storyline ultimately ends up being with him in WWE, I don't know, but
This is the first time the chat has turned against you for this list, John, when it comes to CM Punk. Jace, CM Punk, seriously, and then Brock hates the Blackhawks. So
well, I hate the Blackhawks too. But
there's that. But I
most
mean,
hated team from the Preds. But
he calls himself the best in the world, but he's 4th best in your eyes
now
because
I
Kane's number 1.
loved. He's the one person of the ones that Paul Heyman has represented that didn't need it, but when he was with Paul Heyman, both of them being good on the microphone, I love the little bit of time they were together. Now,
good stuff.
Brock needed him. Roman Reigns needs him. CM Punk didn't need him, but that's what made it that much better when they got together.
Brian, I don't
Hated
think
the Nexus.
I don't think you're a CM Punk guy.
No, it was a different kind of cut guy when he first broke in, the independent hero. Fine, that's all well and good. Yes, had some interesting moments John alluded to. Rocky, I don't know. Have you ever covered Cult of Personality on one of your rounds?
No, it's a great song, Live in Color. No, I have not. It's a great song.
Yeah.
Also being one of the few that actually uses like a real song.
Right.
too.
So there's a lot to like about him. The Phil Brooks man, not a lot to like about him. So, and that's what gets in trouble.
Great UFC fighter.
Yeah, just be this character. Be him.
Yeah.
I like CM Punk a lot. I think he's extremely important for the business. I do. I don't think it's just self-importance. I think he really does move the needle, and it shows. And I think he's always got a chip on his shoulder because he's always trying to prove all the skeptics wrong. He always, no matter how happy he may come across when he first lands somewhere, he's always got something that has to motivate him internally and behind the scenes and backstage, and a lot of that bleeds over into the main product, and I think that's good for wrestling when you're seeing that drama coming from behind the scenes into the main product. And there's no doubt CM Punk is associated with a lot of drama. He was recently on a tell-all podcast that's making a bunch of headlines, and he basically bashes his time at AEW, and he burns a lot of bridges, Brian. That is for sure. I'm not just...
But he's so good. He can come back from them, too.
He's a draw. He's a draw
He
for
is.
sure. All right, let's get into number 2 on Lentz's list of the 5 wrestlers other than Kane that John loves, because Kane will always be there in that top spot.
Yeah, you mentioned Rick the Model Martel.
Troy
We
says,
still have 2. We still have 2.
Troy says CM Punk doesn't move the needle for me, never has. He's pretty good on the mic, though. We have Jace that says the way Punk started going after some of the old guard at AEW, it rubbed me the wrong way. Let's go to number 2.
Tim got some love.
Oh, my gosh. Captain Insano made the list?
He did. And I wrote The Giant for a reason, not Big Show, because that is how I first came into knowing him. And he was my Andre the Giant. Like,
Same
that
here.
Absolutely bigger than life person. Hate the name Big Show. Love the Giant so much more. It's super plain and super simple and really not much to it, but it works. And when he came to WWF and then changed to Big Show, I wasn't a big fan of that. But I really liked him. One of the coolest like things that has happened in the ring to me was when him and Brock Lesnar fought and the whole ring collapsed in on itself. Stuff like that, just from hey, there's a big dude out there that's about to put a beat down on somebody. Loved watching him. Haven't paid attention at all since he went to AEW, but
He's
not missing
planning a
much.
comeback, and he's been really banged up, and he's been dealing with knee issues, and he hasn't
I
looked.
understand.
Has not looked very mobile at all. And I am a giant Big Show fan. That sounds like a pun, but it's not. Big Show's maybe my favorite wrestler of all time because he's so overlooked, I would say. I mean, he really does a great job of connecting with the crowd. He's much funnier and wittier than people give him credit for. When he was on SNL, when The Rock was hosting and Big Show showed up, Big Show stole the show that night. He did. He had a chair hiding behind his back. It was funny.
Did you ever watch the Big Show show?
I
I did.
not
I
watch
watched a
that
couple
show,
episodes of that.
but it wasn't bad. I love the Big Show. I really do. And I'm rooting for Paul White and to be healthy as he continues his wrestling journey. A lot of people in the comments section of all these wrestling social media posts are like, just hang it up already. You've done your time. It's time to go. But he still feels like he has some gas left in the tank. And Brian, that's one thing that, regardless of maybe how you feel about a wrestler, when they're going out there and they're trying to give it their all and they're trying to entertain for the fans, I think there's something that's great about that. And while I want Big Show to care about his health first and foremost, if he feels like he can go, I trust him that he can go.
Stay enough long to be the villain. That's what Batman taught us, right? And if you hang around long enough, people are going to be tired of you. I think Paul White has so much to offer younger, up-and-coming stars, be it giants or little guys. He has true passion for wrestling. I mean, that man will cry at some Hall of Fames. He just loves what he got into in life. And he's been doing it 30-something years.
Oh, yeah.
And anytime somebody hits a 30 mark, I mean, put it into perspective, Randy Orton is in his 20th. Big Show is 10 years prior to that. Same thing with like a Chris Jericho. He's been doing it for however long, and everybody's tired of Jericho. Guys like him, we saw it with Sting. We've seen it with a few Undertaker. Let them kind of have that one final ride of glory, and then don't Ric Flair yourself and keep coming back. End on that high note that you really deserve. He's one of those that deserves a happy ending.
A future
superhero-wise.
future WWE Hall of Famer.
No doubt.
No doubt. The Big Show. He's been a part of so many generations of wrestling, and they've done every gimmick they could possibly do with him. He's been the funny guy. He's been the wacky guy. He's been the teddy bear. He's been the menacing giant. Him and Big Boss Man actually had a great feud to point back to.
He started as Andre's son.
He did, and I'm glad they got away from that
Yeah, that
gimmick
was
for sure.
dumb.
All right, let's go with number 1 on Luntz's list. Other than Kane, who would make John's list of the wrestlers that he has the most passion for? All of your lists are still coming in. I'm going to get to as many of them as possible. I promise you that. We also have Brian Pavlik's at-home Luntz's
The
list.
at-home edition is...
I don't want to get into those 5 yet.
No, I'm revising as John's going because this is good.
All right, number 1. Wow. Fan favorite here for sure.
Oh, easy choice. Not even close.
Okay, question.
Longest yard.
Let me ask this from Brian real quick. The biggest draw in the history of wrestling, Stone Cold Steve Austin, correct?
Right person at the right time with the right attitude. Absolutely right on.
Yep.
John, what needs to be said about Stone Cold that hasn't already been said and his impact in professional wrestling? I don't know, but you're going to try to say it.
I can't. I mean, exactly what Brian said. He is the pinnacle of when I was into the WWF side of things. The Rock is a part of the main event of WrestleMania coming up, and yet you go back to WrestleMania 15 was their first match, I think, with The Rock and Stone Cold. That Stone Cold still pops up every now and then. When he came in 2 years ago with the Pat McAfee match and stunned Vince McMahon and stunned Pat McAfee and everything. I mean, it's just every time he pops on the screen, kind of like The Rock, everybody's instantly totally into it, and there's a reason for that. I don't know how to phrase this, but he's like the most just normal when you look at him wrestling. Like, it's not a gimmick.
No.
Like, I just believe that's just a dude wrestling. Like, I mean,
Let me say something I hope doesn't offend you. It's not like Larry the Cable Guy where he can cut it on and off.
correct. No,
And you're a huge Larry the Cable Guy fan, and I
am.
know this. But
Joe
you know what
Mater.
I mean? It's jarring for people
It
when
is.
they hear him outside of his act, and they're like, whoa.
Right.
And you don't feel that way with Stone Cold.
No, Stone Cold is exactly what he is, and you see him on social media, you see him in wrestling, you see him on a podcast when he was doing his. Does he still do his podcast?
No, but those
Broken-
interview shows were
The Broken
Yeah.
Skull
Awesome.
sessions.
yeah, Broken Skull. Yeah.
You know, anytime you see him, he is literally just him. And I mean, even people like a John Cena that like that's still his name. That's still for the most part him has had gimmicks in the past that like
Right.
he's had to get through whatever. Stone Cold is just Stone Cold, and there may be stuff back in the day when he first was starting that he had gimmicks and stuff. But as far as I know, Stone Cold, as far as the average person knows Stone Cold, it's just a dude out there wrestling.
Yep.
End of story. There's
Fighting.
no gimmick.
Fighting.
Fighting.
Okay. Make sure you tune into the Pavlik Six Pack here on this channel because Stone Cold may or may not be a discussion point in that. We will see. But, Brian Pavlik, I want to hear your list of, it's not your Mount Rushmore because there's an additional choice here, but it is your personal list of the 5 wrestlers in which you're most passionate about.
Yeah, it's the at-home edition. I'll flip it around here, but for the sake of dramatics, the 5th would be RVD. The reason being, it was the 3rd popular federation going at the
ECW.
time, ECW. And I actually saw prime Rob Van Dam, 1998, in some throwaway house show. And I was blown away by the athleticism of this guy. Never got into the 420 stuff, but what he just did in the ring was unheard of. And then quickly everybody else caught up. So I think Rob Van Dam is one of those guys where he won't get as much love or as popularity as some of these guys, but that dude in his prime was untouchable. So then
I'm a big fan of his 5-star frog splash, by the way.
Of
It's
course.
great.
So one of the arguments back in the day was, are you a Stone Cold fan or are you a this guy? And that this guy was Goldberg. And again, right person at the right time in the right position where you've got this guy that couldn't make it with the Atlanta Falcons, shows up, and now we've got this thing called the streak. Before there was the streak, there was Goldberg's streak.
There was a third guy as well you're leaving out.
Who's this one?
Gilbert.
Gilbert.
Oh, Gilbert.
Gosh,
Well,
you-
now,
I was about to say I was more of a
John!
Gilbert person.
well, now, yes, Gilbert versus V. Goldberg. I think it happened once. I forget what happened.
Hang
But
on, there was a Goldberg and also a Gilberg.
that's right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Dwayne
All right,
Gill.
just making
God
sure
love
I'm
that
keeping
man.
up.
Brian, I'm sorry for our unprofessional.
I love it. Again, I'm a fan of the show. I
You
expected
deserve
it.
better.
No, but Goldberg, here's how I knew Goldberg was popular. In 1998 or whatever, growing up in Montgomery, Alabama, we had our summer football workouts, and our coaches canceled that Monday afternoon because they were all going to the Georgia Dome to watch Goldberg and Hogan. And that's how popular that guy was. And, you know, he wound up having a pretty good career, I would say, and, you know, made a comeback that failed. But Goldberg at the time, you wanted the shirt. I think a lot of people still have the tattoo that, you know, they got 20 years ago. But Goldberg is up there for sure.
All right.
The next 3, it's all old school. You saw that from my shirt. But Roddy Piper, not just the incredible movie star.
They live.
They live, among others. The bubblegum
twice this
quote.
week it's been
Yeah,
referenced.
the bubblegum quote is still one of the greatest all time. Piper, as somebody who likes to think of himself as a witty guy and a comedian in some circles, Piper was it. He could out-talk people. He used commentary. those old school SummerSlams and WrestleManias when he was a commentator, I still quote some of his quotes to this day based on how amazingly sharp and witty they were.
Do you remember Roddy Piper appearing as a guest on Bill Maher's Politically Incorrect?
Was this the one that got him fired from WWE or something like that when he admitted about steroids?
Well, what I remember most about this is he was fighting back against it being a fake thing, wrestling.
That's what it was. It was
And
kind of the fourth wall thing.
He pulled his pants down and showed his whole entire leg that was completely bruised. And he was like, does this look fake to you? And it was a very jarring moment where even Bill Maher had to be like, okay, you win. Just put your pants back on, please.
Yeah. No, but that's one of those Roddy Piper quotes. What does the Scotsman wear under his kilt? His shoes. And I'll always remember that from Roddy Piper. Just good stuff. So, number 2, even though I'm wearing the shirt, he does make the deuce column here. Randy Savage, a psycho, a maniac, but boy, what a personality. I posted it on my own Facebook page every WrestleMania week. The greatest moment, him and Miss Elizabeth reuniting. It's still grown man tears just because of it. Yeah, but Savage, athleticism, had one of the greatest stories with the Mega Powers with Hulk Hogan.
Absolutely.
You know,
The wedding, everything.
Well, the wedding, yes, and his feuds were great. He feuded with everybody, Flair and Jake the Snake and
Spider-Man.
So yeah, he Bonesaw. He did pretty good as Bonesaw. He was jacked too. And then you're lying to yourself, not you, John, but at home in the at-home edition. You're lying if Hulk Hogan was not one.
I've never been a big Hogan guy, but it's also before my time.
But that was the
NWO was
thing.
as I was coming in. That was kind of it for me with Hogan.
It was 40 years ago with the Hulkamaniac stuff, and you're getting out of these runs from Bob Backlund and Bruno Sammartino and these old school wrestlers in Madison Square Garden, and then you got this guy Thunder Lips, and he just looks so much different. And from the Real American theme song to the red and the yellow, which, McDonald's, I'm sure, had a field day over back in the day.
And the biggest heel turn of all time ever.
And that's what I was going to say. Great wrestling personas reinvent themselves when they need to. When he kicked in with the NWO for a Hulkamaniac growing up, that was the biggest mind-you-know-what of all time. How is Hulk Hogan a bad guy?
Yeah.
And then to reinvent himself and go back to yellow and red, and now he's just there. I know people hate Hulk Hogan modern day for things that he has done in his personal life. And yes, Terry Bollea, the man, may be that character. But Hulk Hogan and what he did for... We're talking today, spending time on your precious airways because of Hulk Hogan.
There's been a rumored project that I've wanted to see for a long time, and that is
Suburban Commando 2.
Yes.
Christopher Lloyd in it?
Yeah. I would prefer Mr. Nanny 2 first.
Woo. Sure.
No, it is a biopic of Hulk Hogan, but played by Chris Hemsworth.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's been in development hell for a while, but I think that would be something that delivers. Let's get a couple of your lists in here. And here's what I want you to do, Brian.
Yeah.
Give me one word. When you hear the name, the first word that comes to mind when I say this. Okay? So we have Jace's list. Number 5 is Macho Man.
Oh, yeah. Slim Jim. Elizabeth.
There we go, Elizabeth. Number 4, The Undertaker.
Earn.
Number 3, Sting.
Paint.
Number 2, Ric Flair.
Woo.
And number 1, Hulk Hogan, according to Jace.
Brother.
We have Sick Nasty Heat says number 5, Jeff Hardy.
Have a saying, but he does the thing.
Hey, it's the Hardy Boys. We're gonna.
I'm gonna quit torturing you. John Cena, Chris Jericho, Randy Orton, and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels number 1 on Sick Nasty.
Michaels
Heat's
in
list.
his prime, and then he had a prime for 10 years.
Yeah, he would be nowhere without Marty Jannetty, right?
That guy says Jake the Snake, Ric Flair,
Absolutely.
Junkyard Dog, Triple H, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I love Triple H. Triple H would make my 5.
Now,
for
I
sure.
will say the
He's my number 6.
Junkyard Dog. I think there's home movies of me doing the Junkyard Juke or Wiggle. I forget what it's
We
called, but I
actually
do know
have
that
a
he had
clip
Thump.
of that right now. Go ahead and play it, John.
God.
No, I'm just
He
kidding.
had Thump on his butt, and that always was fun for me.
We have Jody that says Austin Idol at number 5.
Sure.
Number 4, Steve Austin. Number 3, Harley Race, who, by the way, the actor who plays Harley Race in The Iron Claw kills it.
Yeah.
The actor that plays Ric Flair, which is number 2 on Jody's list in The Iron Claw,
Not so
no. That was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
bad.
It took me
Real
so much out of that movie. And
Big
number
ol'
one,
miss.
The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Yeah, a lot of NWA there, but listen, that's where this stuff started. And to get ready for the Iron Claw, I went back and watched a lot of old school world class championship wrestling. And Ric Flair, we'll joke on him, and he's just a farce of himself. But if you're interested, go back and watch 82, 83 Ric Flair just kind of putting through the territories. There's a reason people say he was the greatest.
A lot of love being shown for DDP in the chat as well. Everyone has their favorites for sure. We've profiled a lot of them through Luntz's list and through the home edition of Luntz's list, which pretty soon you can get for the low fee of $9.99. Am I pricing that too low? Probably so, but that's what
yeah.
Tyler will deliver it too.
he will.
He will.
For a very small fee.
Only in Blount County.
Exclusively in Bibb County.
$740,000.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. He's a businessman now.
Oh, I thought it was Blount County.
Lovable boy.
Hey, if you want to earn up the amount of money needed to purchase Tyler for a day with his Tyler's Telegrams,
Hey, now.
Hey, yo.
you can accomplish that by visiting our title sponsor, John, and that's MyBookie.
Go to mybookie.ag. Use promo code next round for that first deposit bonus. Wrestlemania odds up right now, even though we have leans in a lot of the matches here. Wouldn't shock us if some of these upsets happen. So you can go there, make some money there with our friends at mybookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Use promo code next round at mybookie.ag.
And Tyler, it was a glorious day for us. We got a chance to enjoy the delicious Culver's menu. We had different things. What did you enjoy today?
I got a single butter burger with some fries and a chocolate shake. That chocolate shake was delicious. Might be the best shake I've had anywhere.
And what kills me is that was just a medium, and it was like
It was a hefty shake.
it was a hefty shake for sure. That's what the Junkyard Dog did, a hefty shake there. Okay, I'm done with the segues. Appreciate all of you for being here as a part of Meltdonia. We appreciate Brian Pavlik making his official debut. He has been a contributor for us talking about the legacy of Sting, but now having done a complete episode, it's official now. You're a part of the rotation. We appreciate you, Brian.
And for those of you in the chat room, you too can leave the dream and be in Laurel's seat one day.
that is what we're calling it, Laurel's seat for sure. Appreciate everybody being here with us today. Make sure you like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll continue to keep you updated on all the latest wrestling news as we approach WrestleMania 40 for sure. Have a great day.